at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Piece in The Gray Lady, New York Times. 6 months later, Democrats still searching for the path forward. So one of the things they're cooking up, again from the Times, the prospectus for one new $20 million effort, obtained by the Times, aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men, especially online. It's codenamed. Oh, it has a code name.
Yeah.
It's codenamed Sam.
Sam, short for Speaking with American Men. Ooh, yeah.
Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virility in these spaces. It recommends buying advertisements in video games, among other things, and urges, quote, above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone.
Well, can Democrats buy authenticity?
Yeah, well, that's the crux of it. I mean, the idea of communication channels, you're not discovering anything new. It's the content that you pump through those communication channels. And shifting from the moralizing tone, good luck with that with respect to where the center of gravity is in the party. And by the way, what the I would call neo-Marxist, the euphemism progressive is used all the time, the neo-Marxist base of the party is. Like, for example, David Hogg, is he still a DNC official? Has he been deposed yet? Regardless, David Hogg was
desperate housewife.
David Hogg was on with the Breakfast Club, that urban show out of New York City. Well, it's nationally syndicated, but I think it's out of New York. You know, Charlemagne, that guy. Anyway, he loves himself some Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett, I love her. She is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that people want to see somebody who fights and calls out the bullshit, ultimately. I think that's what Jasmine does, and we need a hell of a lot more people that are out there that are willing to do just that and call people out on their BS and not say, oh my God, Republicans are going to criticize me for saying this. Screw that. They're going to criticize you no matter what. So what we should be asking ourselves is, what are we really fighting for? Yeah. Because we know it matters. And I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least you know, even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for. Yeah. Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now. They don't want more politicians that say talking points that it doesn't even feel like they believe, or you don't even really know what they mean. They want somebody who's out there that says what they believe and doesn't care what somebody else thinks about it. They want that authenticity.
Yeah, right. Jasmine Crockett and AOC, that should tamp down that moralizing tone. That it will have great appeal to the demographics that the Democrats are hemorrhaging. And another secret weapon they have to appeal to young men. Mayor Pete Butt.
Oh, no.
Of course we should be talking about how, if Speaker Johnson got his way, it wouldn't be possible, not just for gay people to get married, but for straight people to get divorced, let alone like birth control or how he would want to regulate porn or whatever most people would have a problem with. But,
yeah.
Really?
More porn.
Okay.
That's the play there, and then the histrionics too. That gosh, I don't know. Does that sound moralizing? This additional piece, Eric Levitz, who's at Vox.com, it's a leftist outlet. I mean, we've got breaking news here. There's another autopsy that's been done of the 2024 election by a firm called Catalyst that has what Levitz describes as a widely coveted voter database. And here is this comes after last month or 2 months ago, David Shore of Blue Rose Research released this analysis. But these are the big takeaways, and they think they have something here. Number one, Democrats did not lose because their progressive base failed to turn out. No, right. We know. Number two, young voters shifted right. Yeah, young men. Yeah, we know. That's why you got this $20 million SAM project going on. And number three, non-white voters got redder. Yeah. Everybody knows this. They just keep rinsing and repeating the results of the 2024 election without sort of any understanding or unwillingness to confront, maybe a better way to describe it, why those results were what they were. For more on this, because our friend Salena Zito is sort of the political whisperer to many of these constituencies the Democrats covet and have lost. Salena Zito joins us, national political reporter. You can always get her work at selenazito.com. Salena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How do you think the Dems are conceiving the work that needs to be done to improve their numbers with young men, to improve their numbers or return their numbers to where they used to be with Black and Latino voters? Are they receiving the message?
Well, it's interesting. They know what the problem is, but they don't know, and they know that they need to fix it, except they don't want to stop doing what they've been doing.
Right.
So that sort of math doesn't work out. And it's really interesting to me to see all of the contortions that people are going through to try to say, we still want to be who we are, but we want those voters back. And that's sort of not going to happen. And what, there's been a lot of great things and a lot of not so great things that have happened because of the internet, and then, of course, social media and the rapid ability to be able to be connected to anyone on this earth, within seconds. The good thing is with that ability and that transparency, you can see through stuff real quick, and it's really voters know authenticity. They know when someone's being authentic. And I have to address the idea that Jasmine Crockett is who the Democrats want to be their leader, in that she's a fighter. She gets attention, and they think that means she's a version of themselves, that it has the same appeal that Trump has with Republicans and independents and Democrats. And that's not true. And she doesn't have that crossover appeal. And it has nothing to do with what party she is or that she is a woman. It has everything to do with she's still espousing the same things that are not attractive to young people, in particular young men.
Well, right. I mean, the whole authenticity thing, it's sort of this which happens in politics all the time. It's a word that has been sort of distorted to mean things it doesn't mean. Like, if you can be whatever your authentic self is, and that can be completely unpalatable because your authentic self isn't that particularly interesting or informed or reasonable. And this is the problem. The problem is that, AOC might be able to be Chuck Schumer in a primary in New York State, but that doesn't mean that she has sort of broad appeal nationally to bring young men and minorities back to the party in the numbers they need.
Well, this will shock you, but do you know who I think is about the best person for the Democrats right now in terms of pulling the party back to where it needs to be?
Governor Shapiro?
No, Rahm Emanuel.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Well, he said the party's weak and woke right now.
Well, people have such a short memory in American politics, but no one annihilated the Republicans better than Rahm Emanuel did in 2006 when he was running the DCCC, and he picked moderate Democrats to run in U.S. House races. They just wiped out the Republicans in Pennsylvania, and these candidates were reasonable. They were just like, as people say, just like you and me, right? They had that crossover appeal. And he's not afraid to call stuff out when it looks like stuff.
Well, it's also sort of the lane that he has for his own aspirations. But 2006, well, I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I mean, that's 6 years essentially into George W. Bush. You've got a war-weary electorate, and it was a different party at that time. I mean, it was a different party. Right.
He recognizes how to run. He recognizes how to run as something, not against something.
Yes, but this is the whole riddle for them right now, isn't it? It's exactly what you said, which is they recognize the problem, but they don't want to stop being and doing and advocating for the things that they've been being and doing and advocating for the better part of the last decade.
Yeah, absolutely true. After that they won the House that year, they were immediately forced by the left of their party to be not who they were elected to be, right? That's like almost as soon as they won that majority, the next year Obama runs, he wins, and their health care comes up, and they're thrown out, right? So the Democrats were already churning this ideology that wasn't appealing to the last sort of group of people that were going to make them a party that can build a coalition that includes the working class. And at the end of the day, this is all about not being able to appeal to the working class or people who hold the same values, traditional values, as the working class does.
Do you see problems for? I mean, I don't want to sort of whistle past the graveyard. Rasmussen has right track, wrong track. 48% say right track currently. A Rasmussen poll just out, and that's like a 20-year high for Rasmussen from the polling that he does routinely. I mean, it just shows how divided a country we've been for a long time. But there are problems on the horizon are there problems on the horizon that you see for Trump, despite his relatively good numbers, despite the fact another survey out showing his approval rating among Latino voters has spiked up. But despite that there are problems on the horizon, including with the prospect of, the midterms not so far away now.
Well, a lot of politics is about geography, right? And so if your listeners don't know that, I live in Western Pennsylvania. And probably the largest deal ever that will not permanently, but hold on to the working class for at least a generation was the U.S. Steel deal that was announced last week. It's going to be signed this week.
Yeah,
that's a game changer in American politics. So if you come to Western Pennsylvania or Ohio or Michigan or Wisconsin, you're going to find an electorate that's very happy. Whether they are working class, whether they work in the mill, whether they're a farmer, even if there are policies that have been decided that might initially hurt them, but in the long run benefit their communities for their children and grandchildren, they're all in. And the reason is, and I think this is at the heart of why I think his numbers will sustain, is because whatever we've been doing for the past 20 years hasn't worked. Well, and they're willing to do something different, even if it hurts in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Even in your article, you described it as the reverse of the decline of steel that began under President Jimmy Carter. So what exactly is happening?
So there is a deal between U.S. Steel and Nippon, where there will be I forget, I think it was $14 billion cash infusion into U.S. Steel here in Western Pennsylvania, but also in Gary, Indiana. I think there's also a plant in Minnesota.
Well, so right, and this deal, we talked about this several weeks back when Trump was cold on the deal, and he did an about face on it smartly, in my opinion, and I think yours. And it's one of those things that also explains a problem the Republicans do have, the drop off from Trump on the ballot versus Trump not on the ballot, as we've seen over the last couple of cycles, because it's what he delivers. He delivers things consistent with what he said he was going to do, and he's always efforting in that direction. And over the last decade, that has built up a great trust reservoir with a lot of those middle-income voters that you're talking about. And the rest of the Republican Party doesn't have that trust reservoir. And so I'll come out and vote for the guy that's delivering for me, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm coming out to vote, or I'll continue on the ballot to vote for people who I don't really trust or don't think much of or don't have a firm opinion of. And that's, to me, still a delta that the Republican Party has to deal with.
Right. And so there is, people think, they don't think three-dimensional oftentimes. So they think when Trump says, get this big, beautiful bill passed, right? They think it's because it benefits him. Well, there's a difference between Trump and Obama. Trump looks at Obama and says, you did not build your party. In fact, you completely bottomed it out, right? With every election that happened after you, Democrats lost more seats in state houses, state legislators, the U.S. House and the Senate, and governor's races. When Trump says big, beautiful bill and gets it passed, he knows that's a legacy that will make Republicans down ballot from him more like him in terms of being able to get something top passed, as opposed to laying down and not getting the bill passed. So there's multiple layers to enforcing getting that bill passed. And so, in other words, he's trying to train a new generation of fighters that's after he's gone. So if the Republicans are successful and they do get the bill passed and they get other things passed, then all of a sudden they're a different Republican Party on the ballot in 2026, as opposed to the party that was on the ballot in 2018 and didn't get things passed.
I read a piece you penned recently about, in addition to the Nippon's U.S. Steel deal, the coming energy revolution that's going to be required to support AI. And what that will mean for places like Western Pennsylvania. Yeah,
it's people think AI and AI data processing centers, and they think Silicon Valley, right? That's where it's going to happen. Actually, no. It's going to happen in places like Youngstown, Ohio, and Western Pennsylvania. And the reason is because of the outsized energy resources that are in the Rust Belt. So AI, or data processing centers, require a massive amount of energy. Like, think lighting New York City. You need that kind of energy to power a data processing center. Well, for AI, that doesn't come from solar and it doesn't come from wind. It will come from natural gas and also nuclear and coal. And there are these hubs of coal-fired power plants that have been decommissioned over the past 10 years that are natural conversions to natural gas. And they're building, there's a new plant not even 20 minutes from my house being built at an old coal-fired power plant now will be supplied by natural gas. There's putting an AI data power center right beside it. That's 10,000 new jobs. That's $10 billion of investment being poured in into a tiny little town in western Pennsylvania. Those kinds of things are game changers.
Although, the flip side is, now this is down the road a bit, but there was a piece in TechCrunch. Big Tech hired 25% fewer college grads in 2024 compared to 2023. Startups dropped theirs by 11% in terms of hiring college grads because AI is doing all the entry-level stuff that they used to hire college grads to do. Well, that is going to, and Elon Musk is talking about the humans versus humanoid ratio, as maybe more than one humanoid for every human. So this sort of 21st century version of automation is coming for everybody as well, including in those industrial sectors.
Absolutely. That is why it is so important that we need to rethink with our school counselors and high schools. Where do we direct our young people to go, right? What do we look at them and see what their skill sets are? We've been pushing young people, college, whereas the sustainable jobs, you're going to always need a plumber. Yep. You're going to always need a welder. You're going to always need a carpenter, right? And we have been pushing, we're always going to need a hairdresser. Mm-hmm. Like, these are all the trades, the barbers, all these young people. And we don't put our young people in debt by sending them off to trade schools. In fact, oftentimes, these abilities can be found right in your local high school at the VOTEC centers, where you don't even have to invest in going into a trade school. And so I think we need to rethink. This is I think the fourth industrial revolution to happen in modern history. The second one in this country. And I think at the time when the first one happened, we had to rethink, we were all farmers basically, right? And we had to rethink where do we put our children? Where do we guide them to? And that was in the trades and a little bit of college. And then we did all college and a little bit of trades. And now it seems as though that like everything else, from politics to culture, we are going back to a time where trades may be a more dominant force. In fact, they still are. Only 38% of people in this country have college degrees.
Right. Yeah. I knew I should have opened a salon. Been a stylist.
You'd be a
to the
great
stars.
nail tech.
I knew I should have done that. Salena Zito's national political reporter. You can check out her work at selenazito.com. Salena, thank you as always.
Thank you so much for having me. And people can check out my new book, Butler, The Untold Story of the near assassination of President Trump on Amazon now.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for mentioning that. Sorry, I forgot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs,